Hey friends. So we are approaching the Taurus new moon, and this one has a few interesting aspects that it will be making, one of which we have already talked a little bit about. So on April 20th, just a few weeks ago, we saw the planets Jupiter and Uranus in a really tight conjunction with one another in the sign of Taurus. And now, even though they have moved a little bit, obviously, it's been a few weeks, they're still close enough to be considered a conjunction, and they're going to be conjuncting this new moon. So remember, a conjunction happens when planets are close enough to one another in the same sign to be influencing each other. And so you can think about each planet as conveying a different function of human consciousness, as holding a different function, okay? And then every sign from an evolutionary perspective represents the different aim and strategy, or the how and the why the planet gets its needs met. So we're not just talking about labeling people a certain way, although it's important to understand the energies behind all these things. But really what we're after from the evolutionary perspective is why someone would choose to come in with specific symbolism in order to facilitate the most clear trajectory and evolution and soul growth. So let's come back to the new moon in Taurus, conjuncting both Jupiter and Uranus in the sign of the bull, in the sign of the earth spirit, in the sign of the silent one, and the sign of the musician. So Taurus is also archetypally considered the musician. So we're going to be getting into these themes, as well as Saturn is in Pisces, and it's actually sextiling or forming a 60-degree angle to this new moon. And sextiles are, they always bring energies of excitation. So excitement, play. It's like if a trine is more about a long relationship that's been around and it's just like harmonious and it feels good and it's smooth and easeful, then the sextile is a new relationship that's exciting and it has a lot of not necessarily spicy energy, but spicier energy than the trine would. And these energies, because generally sextiles, they're every other, right? So it's earth and water, they go together, and fire and air go together. Now, not always, but generally that's how it works. So these are energies that work well together, and they bring something in the other out that wouldn't be necessarily coming out in the same way if it weren't being influenced by the sextile. So we're going to talk about that too. Now, Taurian energy. Taurus, I love this because I'm a Pisces with a Taurus moon, so that's what we're going to be talking about right now. And Taurian energy, it's an energy that invites us as the first earth sign, so primordial earth. It invites us into our bodies. It invites us to feel comfortable in our own embodied experience. It invites us to be comfortable in our skin, to delight in creature comforts, to connect with the activities and practices and healthy habits that really invite us to feel at home right here. And so that's an important thing to be connecting with during this new moon. Now, Uranus has been in the sign of Taurus for a little while, since 2017. So it's only going to be there not much longer. And what's interesting about this is that Uranus is, wherever he goes, he brings change. Wherever Uranus, and this isn't necessarily in the natal chart, although Uranian energy can be a bit erratic, but it's there because it wants us to be authentic, and it wants us to actually change, because we aren't who we were a year ago. We aren't who we were even a month ago. And Uranus wants us to actually be willing to make the changes in our lives that give us a real sense of security and stability in ourselves, an easeful experience in our bodies. He wants us to actually do what we need to do. And even if it's like becoming uprooted, even if it is like making big changes, he wants us to do that so that that will help facilitate something that is even more authentic to who we are now, right now, who we've become through the progress and movement of time. And so with Jupiter sitting on Uranus and then conjunct or sitting beside this new moon, Jupiter is always going to make things bigger. Jupiter as Zeus, he wants us to be more expansive in the choices that we're making and the place from which we are interacting with life. He wants us to step into our full potential, to embody that full potential, and to make changes that are based on, since he's conjunct Uranus, what is most authentic to who we are, even if it seems really big, even if it means that we are having to expand and to reach further than we could imagine or would have imagined even a month ago. This is what these planets are asking of us. So, yes, Taurus likes to be comfortable. Taurus in shadow is not good at taking risks because it's like, I don't want to be comfortable. I don't want to have to, that's pretty, that's pushing the envelope a little bit too much. But Uranus is like, well, you're actually here to be authentic. And this is about you shifting and changing and evolving and getting pushed a little bit sometimes in order to grow, to expand, to move out of your comfort zone and into a new comfort zone that you can actually make really beautiful and that can actually serve you and your highest good in a way that you may not have otherwise chosen were it not for this amazing transit that's been taking place recently with Jupiter and Uranus conjunct one another, and now with the new moon. So what Taurus also wants from us, it always wants to feel stable and secure. And yet we know, if, just as I said, if we're going to grow, that's not totally possible all the time. We need to be pushed a little bit in order to expand. And so we can create and find a new comfort zone and comfort level. And here we're being asked to do that, but again, in a way that is authentic to who we are and aligned with something really deep inside of ourselves. Because if we're just expanding into something it's like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna jump and go and see what happens, and it's not coming from a really deep place of alignment, it's probably not the best idea. Even if we're scared, like that's normal when we are growing and shifting and changing, obviously, okay? And how do we take care of ourselves and come back home to our bodies and really nurture ourselves through transitions that bring up fear or anxiety or a sense of in ourselves? So that's really important during this time, absolutely. And also, when we're making this, taking the leap, making this shift, making this change, or perhaps, we've already done that, what does it mean to actually be working, moving, living, breathing, playing from a place that's really clear within ourselves? Because in shadow, as I said, Taurus can be like, oh, I'm not going to do that. It's just, oh, that is too scary for me, and it will make me feel too insecure, and I just can't do it, right? That's not where we want to go either. So how do we find this place within our own experiences where we are feeling what is most authentic right now to who we are during this time? How do we encourage ourselves to move from that place? How do we embody this authenticity? And how do we expand from this place of what is most clear and resonant within our own experience, so that even as we're doing it, even as it's uncomfortable, there is this connection. There's this thread of interconnectivity that we can just have faith in ourselves. I mean, that's Jupiter right there, that we can have faith in where we're headed. I love talking about transiting Jupiter as the planet of leap and the net will appear, because he is that. It is all about that. But again, we don't want to just be doing it from an inauthentic or disconnected place. We want to know first what that feels like. What is most authentic? What does it feel like to anchor ourselves there? And then, even as we're, being challenged or invited to move from what might feel really safe and secure, as we expand into the unknown, into this new place, then we create something that's even more secure, that's not based on keeping ourselves safe, but is based on what's real, what's true for us now. So that's really important. That's what's up in the cosmos right now. It's what we're being invited to. And I love that, I talked about this in my Beltane, or Beltina is apparently how you're supposed to say it, post about how, this time of year, especially where I live now, this is this is the time when life is just bursting from the seams. So, life has sprung from the ground. There are flowers, there's pollen everywhere, there's color, there's the bright green on all the trees as the buds are coming. Oh, it's amazing. And this is perfect Taurus season stuff, because Taurus is the earth spirit. And every time we look to certain goddesses like Isis or Inanna, who's Astarte, or Ishtar, these really ancient goddesses. You can even see this in depictions of Hecate. Sometimes you'll see these goddesses with this big, beautiful rack of bullhorns, and they're amazing. And usually the full moon is right in the middle of them. And Taurus is known as the sign of the goddess. And so this really is a time of celebrating our beautiful Mother Earth, of getting outside and spending time in nature and slowing down enough to actually just receive and savor and drink in all the beauty of life that we are surrounded by. Because this too puts us in our bodies in ways that allow us to feel completely at home. And so I encourage you to be outside and to be, whether it's getting your hands dirty in your garden, or just putting your bare feet on the earth, or going for a magical hike, hanging out with the fairies in the forest, whatever it is. Taurus wants us to spend time celebrating and honoring and enjoying our beautiful Earth Mother, because our forests are incredible. I say to my partner often, we live in a postcard. And if I weren't getting out and enjoying that postcard on a regular basis, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't have the same meaning. I wouldn't have a relationship with it. And we are meant to have a deep and real relationship with our Mother Earth and all the different ways that she expresses herself, whether it's through a wetland, a forest, an ocean, and a beach, a meadow, a river, whatever it is, right? These are ways, just being outside in any of these places, these are all ways that we can celebrate this new moon and the beauty that, lives here. And then we're reminded of the beauty that, oh, we are that too. Every time we are out in nature, I think we tap into our innate nature. And that's going to be a perfect segue into Pisces, because Pisces is all about feeling the innate nature of oneness or unity, or the spirit that moves in all things, that lives in all of us, that lives in everything, the Shakti that animates all of life, and the core of who we all are, what we all share. Pisces wants to feel the sense of connection, deep and sacred connection that can't be defined. It's ineffable, but it's palpable, it's knowable. It's the fundamental nature of all of life. And for me, probably because I have, a Pisces sun and a Taurus moon, when I'm out in nature and connecting with, life through all my senses, that's very Taurian, but also feeling into the magical reality that is in nature is very present. That's very Piscean. And Pisces needs to feel this oneness, unity consciousness, this connection with what is sacred on a regular basis. Ideally, a moment-to-moment basis. But we are, in materiality, sometimes that can be not very real. So it's important for Pisces to have ways in which they can be tapping into this numinosity, this magic. I just like to call it magic. Saturn is in Pisces. It's sextiling this new moon. So Saturn's like, okay, kid, it's time for you to get real. Like, show me your work. I don't want you, I want to see that you can do it yourself. Because if you can't, I'm going to have you do it over again. And I'm going to make you do it over again until you actually get it. And if you don't get it this time, I'm not going to be back in this sign for another 27 years. So, oh no, that's wrong. Another 29 years. Yeah, a little bit longer. So figure it out. It's kind of his attitude. Tough love, right? But he does this because he wants us to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. Because if we don't figure it out, no one else is going to do it for us. We have to be able to stand on our own 2 feet. And if we haven't done that before, and Saturn is crossing an important threshold in the chart, it's time to learn. It's really time to learn. So Saturn and Pisces, I love this because Saturn's like, okay, it's time for you to create really healthy boundaries when it comes to the things that help you to feel connected to life and the spirit that moves in all things. It's that simple, or it can be that simple. So he's like, okay, you've outgrown the old way of connecting with the spirit that moves in all things. You got to figure something else out, especially if you've got natal Saturn in Pisces and you're going through a Saturn return. But especially if you've got anything in Pisces, it's time for you to shift how you are embodying the energy or the archetype of the mystic. Because being a mystic basically requires regular meditation on some level, right? It's not just, I call it spacing in. Okay, so meditation, not medication, as my teacher would say. And the more clear we are in our experiences, the more we choose to make meditation or something like it a regular practice, the more clear we are in ourselves, and the more we actually touch the magic of reality, the more aware we are of this palpable, yet often unseeable force of aliveness that is everywhere. And so it's pretty amazing. Saturn gives us the ability to do what we don't necessarily want to do, but we know it'd be good for us to do it, especially right now when it comes to the sacred and honoring the sacred, because the sacred lives in everyone and everything. And the more we get to know it within our own experience, the more we embody it, the more we live it, the more we broadcast it, because that is where we are choosing to reside and abide. So during this new moon in Taurus, conjunct Uranus and Jupiter and sextile Saturn and Pisces, may you spend some time outside in your favorite outdoor setting so that you can connect with the beauty of our great, magnificent, epic Mother Earth. And so that you can feel, even as you're going through perhaps the changes that you're being encouraged to go through, and the expansion that you're going through, so that you can feel really tuned in, tapped into your own experience, connected with your own body, that you can trust reality and what your own being is telling you to do from a deep place within. And may you feel the magic that is always within you and surrounding you, especially when you honor it and when you call it in a greater way, so that you can just let that lead you, even when things get a bit crazy, when they feel a little bit crazy. May you know how to come home to what's true, to what's real, to what is always alive and vibrant within you and without you. So I hope you have a really beautiful Taurus new moon, and I hope it's magical in all the ways that it's meant to be. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. You can reach me obviously here, and also evolutionmedicine.ca or Lila Rasa, LILARASA.com. Okay, I'll see you next time.